I am going to start talking about the best practices by going back to a trip I did a year ago, June, to Central Europe. If you were at the summit last year, you heard me tell the story how I got to go for 2 weeks and work with our partner, Amrest. Amrest oversees these brands throughout Central Europe: Burger King, Pizza Hut, Starbucks, KFC. And what I got to do was create service visions with all these brands for Central Europe. I'm going to tell you a couple of best practices specifically about KFC. We were able to work with them into this year as well. They're still a partner of ours. I didn't get to travel over there this year, which is kind of a bummer because it was beautiful. But I did get to still work with them virtually. And here's what we did. So first of all, I told you this last year. One of the things they did I thought was really, really smart. When they went to roll this out, they actually changed the names of some of their positions, right? So they went from what was formerly a cashier, they changed it to guest care. They wanted the position title to better describe what they wanted that person to do in this new culture of service that they were creating. Now, the next thing I'm going to tell you is the new part that just happened this spring, which I thought was really smart. So they created their Credo cards, and they rolled them out to their 800 or so employees. But what they did next, I thought was great. They took the same Credo card, they put it on a little better material, a harder plastic, if you will. They made it look gold-plated, and they identified the most important 125 stakeholders for this project. Basically, the middle managers that were out there running their locations, that had to live this every day, that had to lead by example. And what they did, if you see here, I know it's difficult on this photo, on the bottom there, that's my friend Libor, that's his card. They personalized these cards for those 125 people. Their names are on it, and there's a number. So they know that it's a limited edition. Not a huge expense, not hard to do, and really help them gain tremendous traction throughout the process. Another best practice I want to share is certifying your employees. So, okay, once we roll it out, that's great, but how do we keep the momentum going? We know that it's going to create a buzz for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We're going to see some nice changes. We're going to see people bought into it, but that's not going to last forever. We need to be reinforcing this. So I'm going to take you to Fulton, Maryland, and our friends at New Day. We're working on this right now. So you can check back with me in a month and I can give you a report on how it's going. But we're going through the process of how do we certify every employee in their growing company. They're growing by leaps and bounds. So how do we certify the folks that are already here, and how do we certify the folks that are here but still in training, and the folks that aren't even here yet? That's what we're working through. We're going to have a November 1st launch on the certification process. There was a quiz created, and also some other fun ways to get people engaged in their office. Very similar to a certification process where people have to write down on a whiteboard. They have to prove they know it. And the important thing is it's going to start at the top, right? Their CEO, Rob, is going to be taking this test. The admiral will be taking this test. And people will see that. People will know that they know it. And what they're going to get on the other side is this pin. You may see a few people wearing this pin, the white pin, at New Day, because a few people have been certified already, but most of them have not yet. That's coming on November 1st. And this is their reward. Once you're certified, you get the pin. Another great way to reinforce it and to show to all your fellow employees that I'm good. I get it. I'm on board. Last year, if you were at the summit before, you heard about this already, the Benson Kearley Secret Service Allowance. Where's Benson Kearley? I knew I would get a yell out of you guys. So you probably heard about this before. I love this idea. Every employee that's in a customer-facing position is given the opportunity to spend some of their allowance on a customer using Secret Service, finding something out, and buying them something. And then they have to report back. They have to tell everybody else what they bought, what they did, how they made the customer feel. Here's another thing they did this year. This is the new piece. Secret Service Day. Every employee came in and was treated like a VIP, right? They literally walked into work on a red carpet. They were served breakfast at their desk. They had a catered lunch. And other things that were Secret Service related just to them were happening throughout the day, treating them like a VIP. Another great best practice that we hope is a next practice. Where's Center Salons? Jim Pacifico and Kelly. Here's an example I want to share. It starts with me. Kelly is currently in our CXEA class. And we had a call, I guess it was a couple weeks ago now, and we were just talking about how the project was progressing, where things were moving, where people needed help. And she brought up something that makes perfect sense and is common sense, but it was such a great reminder for all of us. She said simply, it starts with me. And whenever I roll something out to my managers, I make sure I do it to them first. In this case, she was talking specifically about caught you doing something right cards, making sure that managers were out there identifying when employees were doing something great and recognizing them for it. Giving them a card, making sure that all their coworkers knew what happened, so that not only the person is celebrated in front of their coworkers, but also so everyone else is like, oh yeah, I guess I could probably do that too. So that's just a good reminder. Remember, don't just tell your people to go out there and do it. You got to show them how to do it. So remember, it starts with me. We also have to know what others are doing. There's been a lot of talk about Uber recently. And someone brought up, I think it was John yesterday, that there's probably an Uber in every industry to some degree. And if it's not visible yet, they're lurking. Who in here has a policy or a guideline, as we would call it back at the office, return emails within 24 hours as a best practice? Anyone? Or return emails same day? So here's the personal story that I want to share with you. I was in Fulton, Maryland, visiting New Day, going to BWI to catch a flight. I call an Uber. I'm in the car. It was a very nice older gentleman, and we're chatting. We're just talking. All of a sudden, he's like, oops, I missed that exit. I didn't think anything of it. I had plenty of time, so we keep going. Turns around, gets me to the airport. I get on the plane an hour or so later, and I finally have time to look at my phone, and I see my receipt from Uber, so I look at it. And I look at the map that they send you, and I'm like, we kind of went pretty far out of our way with his little oops. So I was like, this is a good opportunity to maybe test Uber and see what they really do. I've heard about their good service. I'm going to see what happens. So I sent him an email. I said, hey, I think I went a little out of my way. Could you review that and let me know what you think? So again, I'm sitting on a plane. The door's still open. 2 minutes later, I get an email response from a real person that says, thank you for letting us know. We're very sorry this happened. We're looking into it. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. I'm like, oh, okay, that was nice. That's pretty good. Pretty good service. Another 2 minutes later, the plane door is still open. I get another email, and it's a different person saying, we're sorry, Mr. Murray. We definitely took you out of your way. We hope we didn't inconvenience you too much. We are refunding you $15 for this trip, and we're crediting you $20 for your next trip. So think about the timeline there. That whole thing took about 4 minutes. And I got 2 responses and a refund. Transaction over. It makes us think. Our guidelines still appropriate? Is 24 hours okay? So we have to remember, what are people getting elsewhere? So maybe if you don't have an Uber in your industry, maybe Uber is still affecting you in some way regardless. Risk. Zero risk is being zero risk to do business with. It's making sure that our customers have no concern going into that transaction with you, right? We want to make sure that they feel comfortable with this transaction. They're not worried about it. There's no hesitation. They know if something goes wrong, we're going to pick up the ball and run with it. We will fix it for them. It's our commandment number 7. So, a lot of companies that we work with have done it this year. I'm going to talk about a couple. First, I'm going to start with the maids. What we do, the deliverable from this workshop is the Playbook. It's giving people knowledge of what's going to go wrong and how to fix it. Here's some examples from the maids, right? What they delivered to their folks at the end of the day, and think about it from your standpoint for a minute. Wouldn't it be great if you had this in your office, right? What are the 5 steps to resolve the most common customer issues we face? That'd be pretty helpful, right? If we're able to train our people on that instead of them just finding out when they come across one the first time. What are some actions that we can use to minimize some of these challenges? Train them how to avoid the stuff that we cause in the first place, which if you look at it, there's probably a lot. So if you haven't looked from that lens recently, you should. Some other examples are, what are our service recovery protocols? Tell people what they can do. The reason that employees don't help their customer when something goes wrong, 9 times out of 10 it's because they're afraid they're going to get in trouble. They don't want to offer some sort of product or some sort of discount for the recovery because they think they're going to get in trouble. So we need to let them know out front, what can you do? How can you help our customers when they have these problems? Most common customer requests where we say no, but we could have said yes. Think about that one. Most common customer requests where we cannot say yes. These are difficult no's. What's going to come up where we have to say no, but what are those alternatives we can come right back with? So we're not stopping at no. It's, I'm sorry we can't do that, but here's what we can do for you. And it's arming our folks so they can do it right on the spot. We also work with Advanced Financial and Playhouse Square right down the street here in Cleveland. And the interesting thing with them was their zero risk. They were looking at business changes. They each had 2 really large changes that were affecting the way they operated, affecting their business model, affecting how they sold, how their customers interacted with them. So I encourage you, if you ever go through that, where you're really changing the way your customers perceive you and work with you, look at it through this lens. Think about zero risk. I also wanted to talk about world-class internal culture. We've done a lot of world-class internal culture with our clients this year, commandment number 2. We've done it with Advanced Financial. We've done it with the maids. Here's an example from Nitel. I love this. The second page of their world-class internal culture manual is a letter from Rick and Ron, the co-founders, saying, hey, welcome to the management team. Because this doesn't go to all employees. World-class internal culture gets delivered to our managers so that they can then deliver it to all of our frontline employees. So this is saying to them, hey, welcome. You are now a fellow leader within our organization, and here's how we operate. And then we have to reinforce things. Here's a great example from Waxing the City, which is part of Anytime Fitness, their family of companies. How are we reinforcing these things when we have our world-class internal culture? How are we making sure that we're discussing these things, that we're making sure everyone's on board, they don't have any questions? If you don't have a huddle template, I would suggest you take a look and jot down some of these ideas, because they're hugely, hugely important to reinforce these on a regular basis. I love this. This comes from the maids too. When you're newly hired, you make this personal commitment to not only you, the maids, but also I'm making this commitment to me that I'm going to follow these guidelines of being an employee here at the Maids International. Here's a question I have for you. What is your wave ability score? Okay, I call it a wave ability score, but most of you that know me know that I like to run. And when I go to a new city, I prefer to explore it running. I think that's the best way to go see a new place. One of the things that I have always done when I am out running is I just wave to people at random. Any runners out there know that a wave from a fellow runner is more than just a hello. It's really more of a, hey, you look great, keep it up, you rock it. And even though you might feel awful, right? It's a little boost of confidence as you're trying to finish whatever length of miles you're going. So when I'm out running in different cities, I wave to everybody. And then I start to judge cities based on how many people wave back to me, right? I can tell you, in Boston, which used to be my former home, you don't get many waves. You don't get many waves at all. In fact, I think one elderly woman thought I was doing a different gesture, and she gave it right back to me one time. New York, you get a lot of waves, but I think that's all the fellow tourists that are there. I don't think it's the native New Yorkers. But here's where I'm going with this. What is your wave ability factor within your office? How many people, when you walk around your office, are saying, hey, Dave, how's it going? How's your day? Right? I walk around a lot of offices, so I do this test when I'm in offices too. I just like to wander and go around and say hello to people, and I like to see what people do, right? And is your office one of those where people are very open and say, hey, how's it going? How's your day? Especially when it's a new person, maybe a prospective employee, maybe a prospective vendor. Or are they the mode like this? Well, I'm busy, busy, busy. Can't talk to you. Got to get to the bathroom. Got to get back to my desk. Right? That happens a little more than you would think. Or they see a new employee or a potential new employee being walked around like, I'm not going to give that guy 6 months. If he's here 6 months from now, I'm going to say hello then. I want to talk about RPM pizza. So they also did their internal culture this year. Here's a copy of the front page. And here's something that they did that I love, and other of our clients are doing it. They made this document, and what it's becoming their certified leader document. And what I mean by that is, so many of us promote people just because they do their jobs well. We don't really ask or know if they're a great leader of others, if they even want to manage. A lot of times, like, hey, you do a great job. Why don't you take over this team? RPM realizes that, and so what they have done in this document is they made sure that in order to be a leader within RPM Pizza, you need to be trained on this. The first thing that happens when you get a promotion is you go through this. This is going to be rolled out shortly here as we finish putting the fine-tuning on it. But we want to make sure that if you're going to lead a team, you know how to do it the RPM way. Here's the thing about RPM. When they first came to us 3 or 4 years ago, and Glenn Sr. Had a conversation with John, they knew that while they had really, really done well on speed of service, they were not doing well on friendly. And Glenn realized that having a really good pizza delivered on time by someone that you didn't really like wasn't necessarily going to work for the long haul. So he came to John and said, we are bought in. We realize that we need this for our business model. So they went through the long process of creating a service vision, the pillars, the rollout, everything that we do. But then here's what happened. To their credit, they came to us and said, but it's not working as well as we wanted it to. What's wrong? And we went back and looked at everything that happened. And even though we put it on hats and their employees were wearing it, what we realized was employees didn't know it. And so they made that part of the culture. And the way that started was there was an executive meeting at RPM Pizza, and Glenn Mueller Jr., known as G2, pounded his fist on the table and said, who in this room knows this? And not everyone did. So again, going back to that theme, it starts with me. They made sure that everyone in their executive office, everyone on their senior management team was able to do this, to do the Credo card challenge that they developed. And the end result was this: their customer satisfaction scores. Their net promoter scores, which is the metric they use, had gone up and up and up. And it was okay to begin with. They were doing okay. Up and up and up, where they have had record numbers and continue to maintain that number at around a high 88 to 90 level consistently. And here's what they've done. The Credo Card Challenge, right? Here's a video of Tom Holliday, a vice president within the organization, going through the Credo Card Challenge, where he had to write out their service vision. He then has to turn around and verbalize what their pillars are. And then he has all their nevers and always on a magnet. He's got to put it up there. And they made this mobile. They have regional people that go around from location to location with a whiteboard, a magnetized whiteboard in their trunk, and they can go do this at any store, anytime. The other great thing about this challenge is it has become as important in their culture as the pizza making contest. Right? That's a long-standing contest. Who can make the fastest pizza? That's a big deal. Now, the award for doing this is equally as important. So they went through the process. They learned from mistakes. They continue to innovate. They continue to make changes to make sure that they are being the best that they can be as they try to live their service vision for their customers.